For those who just joined us right now, please type your name in the chat box and open week 2 folder in Schoology. Your classmates are doing the 1.1 interleave review mental math. Thank you. And if you forgot to do it, please type your name in the chat box. And if you guys haven't done it yet, please type your name in the chat box. I'll repeat, please type your name in the chat box. Thank you. If you just recently joined us, your classmates are doing 1.1 interleave review mental math. You have about 4 more minutes to do that. Please give it your best. Thank you to those who have used their first attempt. If you guys um, have identified those that you got wrong, you know you can do it. You can give it another try, right? So try to redo the ones you got wrong, because hopefully everybody would get a 6 out of 6. Okay. We got 2 more minutes. Yes, if you've used your first attempt and you have already seen which ones you got wrong, you can restart at your own time. Yeah, whenever you're ready. Hmm. Can I give you 1 more minute? Then we're gonna move on. And if don't give you enough time, Please do know that you can also resume your quiz later on. So even if we are not live anymore, during the last 20 minutes of independent work, you can actually go back to it. I enable the setting where it saves your answer and then you can go back later. All right. I do thank you for your effort. I look at the results while some of you are still working on it, and most of the questions had an accuracy rate of more than 70%. That's good. So, what I'm going to do is on intervention days, which is Mondays, we will be looking at, the question that had the lowest accuracy rate. So, in that case, we don't have to like repeat what you already know. I'm just going to focus on the parts that you found difficult, and hopefully we'll do better the next time, right? Okay, the second attempt. Um,
Hey,
is that
if your box has a green check mark, that means you got them all right.
yes, honey? If it shows like a check mark in the box, that means it's correct. However, in some quizzes, I do give questions that have multiple answers. So if that's the case, I think I did not give any multiple answer question here. So if it only has one correct answer, then that means check means correct. Uh-huh. However, if the question has multiple responses in the future, it will give you a check mark on one item that you got right. But if you did not get all the other responses correct, it will mark the entire item wrong. So it's like one ruins it for all, kind of. Yes? Did I answer your question? Okay.
Not really.
So if it shows like a check mark in the box, it's good. It's right. Did that make sense?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Already. All right. So again, if you're not done, please continue that later on after the class or during your independent work. So now I'm going to direct you to our lesson for today. We are starting with lesson 1.1 of your textbook. And if you got a physical textbook, a hardbound textbook from school, that's good. Am I muted? No, honey. Or maybe my voice is just too soft. I'm going to make it louder. Okay. I am not on mute, honey. My screen says I'm good. All right. So, as I was saying, we're going to move on to our first textbook lesson. We have 1.1, which is actually on the real number system. So, what I'm going to ask you to do is open the other green, puzzle icon over there that has interleave review properties. So, let's open that. All right. So, later on, if we do have the time, if not, we'll do it on, on intervention days, Mondays. Um, I will be showing you how you can copy the materials that I put on Schoology into your digital notebook. Because if you remember, I mentioned that your digital notebook is actually like your digital project for the whole year. In 3 weeks' time, the fifth week grades will be due, and I will be asking you to turn that in. So what are you going to put in your digital notebook? First, I want you to open this first link that says the real number system, and it should look like this. It's loading. All right. My internet is slow because, I do have four people on Zoom right now. Okay, so this is our first slide for today. You can find this template with the agenda and interleaved warm up or interleave review in your digital notebook, but these graphic organizers won't show, and these words as well won't show. So later on, what I'm going to ask you to do during independent work is you're going to copy all these into your digital notebook. Okay, if you don't know how to do that, don't panic. We will be helping you. If we don't get the time today, Mondays are designed for intervention. So it's like, you know, support or tutoring. So we will be able to do that as well. But I don't want you to, waste our lesson time um, for today. So I'm going to be moving on with our lesson so we can start with um, or we can finish all in our agenda. So during Zoom today, we will talk about the real number diagram, and there's two of them. What's the difference? The first diagram, which I'm pointing at right now, only shows examples, while the second diagram gives you some explanations. So we're going to talk about them, and later on, we will have some time to collaborate. So I will be giving you an activity in which you will tell me what kinds of numbers, the numbers that will be shown on the screen. Okay, so the real number system is just like a family of numbers. In Algebra 1, we will be focusing on real numbers alone, but when you go to Algebra 2, you will be working on complex numbers. So what are the types of real numbers? The red portion here, which is the smallest set of them all, is what our parents teach us when we're babies. Like we were taught starting from one, two, three. So we call them natural numbers because we teach babies that like naturally. It just comes out naturally, right? We also call them the counting numbers. However, when you introduce the zero number, then we now call them whole numbers. And you can also see that in this diagram over here, right? So natural starts with 1, but whole numbers start with 0. And then eventually, when you were in middle school, you were introduced to numbers that have negatives. In other words, this is another fancy name for negatives. We call them inverses or opposites, right? We learn them as opposites. So the opposites of 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, -3, and so on. We now call them integers. So when you're asking me for help, you could say, Miss Arciaga, I got a whole number answer. So that means I'm going to think that you got a positive answer. And then I might say, oh, honey, you're going to do it again because I got an integer, right? So we're going to be using those vocabulary words. Now, rational, it just sounds fancy, but if you look at the keyword ratio, you can actually find that in the word fraction, ratio, right? So pretty much what we're doing is we're realigning what you learned in middle school to some of these fancy words that you will be seeing in math textbooks, and if you're going to a community college or four-year university in the future, then you'll be realigning those vocabulary words with what you learned previously. So rational, simply put, are just fractions. However, if I have a number, let's say um, one half, so one half is a fraction, right? And you can also change it to a decimal, which is in money, it's 50 cents or zero point 0.5. So fractions and decimals are called rational numbers. However, there are numbers, let's say one third, like if you type in one third in a calculator, what comes out? If you try it, it will become 0.33333. So it keeps going. So repeating decimals, they're also called rational because they just originally came from fractions, let's say one third. Now everything that if you enter in the calculator, it just keeps going, repeating. But the numbers are not, are not the same. Let's say pi is 3.14159 and so on. And if you Google the number pi, there's like bunch of numbers, zillions of numbers. Then those are called irrational or non-terminating. So in general, we would just say irrational numbers. So those are the times when instead of writing the whole decimal, we just, write them in this form, let's say square root of 5 form. Okay, So I'm gonna open my chat over here, and I'm gonna type a number, and you tell me what you're gonna call that number. Your choices are here. You can see them on the screen. I'll start with 7. Oh, okay. What type of number is 7? Let me do it again. There you go. Type in your answers. Is it natural? Is it whole? Is it an integer? What do you guys think? That's correct, Valerie. Keep going. But your answer doesn't have to be just one. There can be multiple answers to this. Because remember, a natural is part of a bigger group. It's also a whole. Very good, Erlinda. Keep going. What else? So if it's a natural, it's whole. If it is a whole number, what else could it be? Don't stop at whole numbers. What else could it be? If the yellow is inside the green one, then you can also use the green one as an answer. So what else could it be? Aside from natural and whole, it is also a real. Very good. Every number I give you actually is real. It is also an integer. It's very good, Luis. Even though the examples don't show here the positives, remember integers are both positive and negative. That's awesome. Now, can we write 7 as a fraction? What is the denominator of 7? It is actually 7 over 1, right? I can write it as 7 over 1. So, since we can write it as a fraction, what else can you type as an answer? Yep, awesome. Rational. Very good, Justin. Yeah, you can write it as 7 over 1. Roberto, very good. It's rational. So, and somebody also mentioned earlier that it is a real number because all these four ovals over here are inside the real number system. So, that basically is what we're going to do in our next activity. So, I'm going to switch. I'm going to take off this full screen over here. Give me 1 second. My computer is going slow. Um, I need to go back to, I'm going to close this full screen. All right, I'm going to share something with you. Hopefully this time it would work. I will remember this time that I have to slow down a little bit and wait for everybody to get on it. Um, I was told yesterday that in some devices, this one really doesn't work, and I don't know how to explain that. I don't know how to make it work either. I'm so sorry. Your teacher is old. I'm not techie. So what I'm gonna do, just so I can have everybody's answers, is if it doesn't work in your device, I will watch the chat so I can also, read your answers. Okay. Um, oh, I think I copied the link too early. Give me 1 second. This is the one that I should copy. Okay. All right. Try to see if this link works. If it doesn't, I will just watch for your answers in the chat. Okay. But hopefully we all can make it work. So we will all be in the same one. Alternately, some yesterday did this in their phones and they said that it worked. So they went to join.nearpod.com. It says right here. And then they entered the code. So whichever works for you right now, we'll go with that. All right. Okay, I'll give you like, 30 more seconds and see which one you guys can make work in your device. If you hear a kid's voice, that's my 4-year-old. I apologize, guys, in advance. Sometimes she also Zoom bombs me. Okay. All right. I'm going to close this so we can. It doesn't work for me. Oh, I'm so sorry, Samuel. But I will monitor the chat. Oh, which link do we go to? This one, honey. Okay. Um, the code. Okay. Code is RGKBF. Ooh, I can see that you guys are trying out different ways to get on it. That's cool. And let me charge my Chromebook. Give me 1 second. I'll just charge my Chromebook. All right. I brought my computer to the living room earlier because I was helping my preschool child. And I forgot to charge my computer. Okay. All right. So I think that bought you some time to kind of figure out what works for you. All right. We're going to get started. I'm going to monitor that chat if you can't join in the Nearpod. Or you can type in your answers over here. All right. Let's get started. Let me see who's in it. Ooh, a lot. Awesome. I'm not going to mention all your names anymore, but that's good. Okay, here we go. Much better than last time. All right, first slide is this is the number pi. And what you're going to do is you're going to share what you think is the correct name for the number pi. Let's go. Keep your answers coming. What is it? Remember, pi is a non-repeating, non-terminating. It's 3.14. So what kind of number is pi? Yep. So what do you call it though? Like, is it whole? Is it integer? Just like what we did in the chat earlier. Is it rational or is it irrational? Okay. Good. Very good, Ava. What else though? Aside from being irrational, so whether a number is rational or irrational, okay, I don't think it's a whole number, honey, because a whole number are, starts from 0, 1, 2, 3. They can't have decimals. There you go, Kayla. That's what we're looking for. So the two correct answers are irrational. Very good, Juliet. And the other correct answer is real. All right. And I can see some of you wrote your answers in the chat as well. Very good, Samuel. All right, there you go, Louise. Justin, yep, that's 3.14, same as what Jacob and Jasmine wrote. But we're looking for like the name, like what name would you attach to it? Okay, don't worry, you got more chances to do it. Here we go. Yay, I'm going to switch to the next slide. Keep them coming. Yep, it will be recorded in our Nearpod. All right, here we go. Next number. Oh, did my voice just too loud? Okay. 1/4. 1/4. Keep them coming. What is 1/4? It's a fraction. All right. We should think about it again, Robert. Irrational are those when you turn into decimal, they don't stop. But 1/4 in money form is 25 cents. So it's 0.25. So we should think about that again, Robert. Rational, yes. Ruby, from now on, instead of saying fraction, let's do the fancier name. So it will be consistent with what we see in the textbook, so you don't get lost when you're reading. Fraction is rational. Awesome. Let's go. Cool. Okay, moving on. Next. And let me see the chat. Yes, rational. Okay, cool. Next, -9. Ooh, you have a lot of possibilities for this one. And every time you write whether it's rational or irrational, please don't forget The entire family is called real numbers. So 1/4 is also a real number. Ooh, I see integer. I see rational. Okay. And in the chat, I see integer. All right. Good. So it's an integer. It's rational because you can change it into a fraction, -9/1. And what do you call that entire big family of numbers again? Somebody needs to type that one. What do you call that huge family of all those numbers? What's that? Uh, okay, real. Very good, Ava. Robert, if a number is negative, I don't think we're gonna name it as a whole. The whole numbers are those that are 0, 1, 2, 3. So just the positives, honey. All right. Awesome. So the correct answers are it's an integer, it's a rational, and lastly, it's a real number. Awesome. Okay, I do hope that you kind of understood, the differences among those numbers. Okay, now I'm going to close this one, and I want you to go back to Schoology and open the second link that I sent you. It's the real number properties. Okay, don't get overwhelmed when you see it. I'm going to explain to you how you're going to use it later on to to do your work. Okay, it's loading. All right, I just want to make sure that I'm sharing my screen, so I'm gonna share screen again. All right, so it should say independent work on top. So that should be the one that you're looking at right now. It's the second link in the Schoology file that I showed you earlier. Okay, I know this is a lot, but um, it just looks a lot because I added the verbal hints on the right hand side. You can actually find this in mathbits.com. So, pretty much what it's giving us are the properties of real numbers, which we will not be using, like all of them for today. But for the meantime, what I would like you to look at are the properties that I'm going to put a check mark on, and they are um, okay. I want you to look at number. Okay, how come my pen is not showing right now? Okay, so I want you to look at this four properties right now. Ooh, that was kind of sloppy, but numbers 13, 14, 15, and 16. Okay. So I want you to read those four right now. I'll give you about, you know, 3 minutes to do that. Thank you. Oh, you go to the same Schoology where you found the link at earlier, and it says real number properties. Real number properties. And you don't have to do anything, just like read it. Read numbers 13 through 16. Okay, 30 more seconds. Okay, so now the reason why I made you read those is because we will be using them in our lesson today. So when I ask you what property is being used when I'm solving equations, then you're going to say, oh, addition property of equality, or subtraction, multiplication, or division property of equality. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you to get ready with a notebook and a writing material, because today um, we are going to start with our first textbook lesson. If you hear a ding sound, it's just because I'm using like a writing tool. So every time I change a color or something, it will make that sound. Okay, so pardon me on this one. My handwriting sometimes gets sloppy. Okay, so on your notebook, we're doing lesson 1.1 today, which is solving simple equations. Okay, give me 1 second. If you're writing something in the chat, I can't read it because what do you call this? I'm on my writing slate. There you go. So solving simple equations. Oh, that's okay, honey. If you started the quiz accidentally, that's fine. It will ask you to resume it later on. Don't worry. Okay. So if you remember what I mentioned last time, do not throw away any scratch paper that you use, because you will be taking pictures of that and putting them in your digital notebook. Okay, so we're gonna get started. Solving equations. So what do we mean by solve each equation? So solving means we're going to find that number such that when you plug in for x and subtract 3, you will get -5. So we can actually get that in our heads, right? So in middle school, we were trained how to do that. However, in high school, we're going to write down the properties that we guys will be using. So how would we look like on our notebook? So this is how it's going to look like. Um, let's write down a two-column table. Okay, that looks like this. I know you can do a better job than what I'm doing right now. My handwriting is sloppy. I usually write nice, to be honest. But okay, on the writing tab, it is like this. Okay, so statements and reasons. When you guys go to geometry next year, you will be making two-column proofs, and that's what we're training you for right now. So the very first part of a two-column proof is writing down, the given problem. And since it's just the original problem given to us, we're just going to write given. So the reason for that is given. All right. Now, for step number 2, okay, let me just check the chat. Where do I go? Oh, honey, do you see my screen? Just watch my screen right now. We're doing some notes. We're doing the lesson. So you don't have to go anywhere. Yeah. So just get a piece of paper to write on. Okay. And sorry if I don't check the chat all the time, because I want to maximize my screen, so I minimize it. Yes, honey, we're writing this. And remember, all the things that we write or you write, don't lose those papers. You're going to take pictures of those, and we will put them in your digital notebook. So we'll try to arrange those on an intervention day Monday. Okay? So keep everything. All right. So in middle school, if you remember, like if you want to remove the -3, you write a +3 underneath it, right? But we're going to adjust what we normally do. Instead of writing it underneath, we guys are going to write next to it, not underneath it. So we're going to learn how to do it horizontally. And the reason for that is, especially during distance learning, when you can't type fractions, you can't type, something with the denominator, we have to kind of learn how to do things horizontally. Okay, so remember that whatever you write on the left hand side, you also have to give it to the right hand side. So you got to be fair, right? So that means, sorry for the ding sound. Now, among the properties that I made you read earlier, so what property can you use as a reason for this one? Remember, the operation that you use will give you a clue to the answer. So since we added 3 to both sides, then our reason will be addition property of equality. There you go. So if you subtracted a number, you're going to say subtraction property. All right. And then in number 3, so what can we do with a negative and a positive? Since they are opposite, we actually can cancel them already, right? Okay, so now let's just simplify this one. Negative 5 and positive 3 will become x, no more number here because I crossed that out, right? Equals negative 5 plus 3 will become negative 2. And since we just, you know, combine like terms here and cancel the opposites here, we will just put simplify. There you go. Simplify. All right. So now I'm going to give you another platform that you can use to do this problem over here. Okay. I'm going to let me go to another website that we will use so I can kind of see your solutions to the other problem. We are going to whiteboard.fee and I will create a new class that we can go to, and I will share the link with you. Give me 1 second, honey. Okay. All right. And then I'm going to copy this and send this to you in the chat so I can also check. Okay. So I can also check. Am I going too fast? Okay. I'm sorry, honey. But thanks for letting me know. I do appreciate that. All right. Okay. Mm-hmm. Thanks for the feedback. I will be more conscious of that. Uh-huh. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to give you some time. Let's see if we can all join in this. Um, Yesterday, some students also tried on their phone and they wrote with their fingers. I don't know which one you guys will find more convenient. You're happy? I think, you know, despite all these challenges, I just put everything at the back of my mind and just focus on the positives. I'm a person oriented, I'm a people oriented, student oriented type of teacher. So, yep, whatever works for you. Yeah. Okay. And thank you guys for trying and cooperating with me. I do appreciate that. And I can see that some of you are joining already. Cool. And you can also tell me which one you're comfortable with because I can hide your name so you're not like hesitant about sharing your answer. But even if it's right or wrong, you've kind of gotten a feel of how I don't say, oh, that's wrong. I just say we should think about it again, or maybe we should redo that. All right. Okay. I'm gonna close the chat for now, all right? So okay. Yay, a lot of us are joining the whiteboard. Okay. I'm just gonna copy what I'm gonna write on the whiteboard. 0.9, 2.8. Okay. All right. So yes, try to doodle on the whiteboard so you guys can, get a feel of how to use it. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to write on my whiteboard so you can kind of see the problem that we guys will be doing. Okay. So the equation is, I forgot, it's 0.9. Okay, so, oops, 0.9 equals y plus 2.8. And I know that you don't have enough space to write down the properties, but what I would like you to do is try to get the y by itself. Try to solve for y. Okay, I'll give you time to work on that. Can we try 2 minutes? Let's go. 0.9 is equal to y plus 2.8. All right, I'm going to share another important resource for you. And this is a good alternative to using your phone as a calculator. In your Chromebook, you can actually go to decimals.com/scientific. We will be doing a lot of stuff, and Desmos is one of our, friendly platforms. So as early as now, even if we're not graphing it, I want you to be familiar with Desmos. Oh yes, Roberta, we're gonna write down our work on your whiteboard, and you can kind of see that whatever you write now on your whiteboard, I can see over here. So I'm gonna clear all the whiteboards right now, so you can start writing, your solution, like how you did it. Okay. Oh, there you go. So some of you are. Let me check the chat. Somebody wrote in the chat. All right. So go ahead and write down your work. Y equals negative 1.9. All right. I would love to see your solution though, but thank you for putting the correct answer. Uh-huh. And as I have said, if you guys want like an online calculator, I really find Desmos very useful. So you got 0.9, right? And then take away 2.8, and then it will show you the correct answer over here. But another, in addition to that, it can also toggle or change your answer from a decimal to a fraction, which will be very useful in some of the things that we will do in the future. All right. Okay. So if we're lost, if we're not getting it somehow, don't worry. I'm going to go back later on to my whiteboard and we're going to compare answers. But for now, I just want you to kind of try it on your own. So, uh-huh. Okay, so going back to our whiteboard, um, I'm going to do it over here so it's faster because I can write with my pen. All right, so pretty much if you want to get the y by itself, you have to take away the 2.8, right? So that means you are going to subtract 2.8 from the right side, but whatever you do to the right, you also have to do to the left. So pretty much you're going to end up with a new equation that is 0.9 minus 2.8 is equal to y, and these two will cancel out already. Okay, so now in your calculator, you did 0.9 minus 2.8, and the correct answer is negative 1.9. So when we say solve the equation, everything that's, everything that is in the way, or every number that's on the same side as the variable, you have to remove them. You have to get rid of them by performing the inverse operation. Okay, so let me see if you guys um, okay, I just want to remind you that everything you write in the chat, I don't know if you did that here at the beginning, is transcribed at the end of the Zoom meeting. And that's not even just my setting, it's an LAUSD setting, honey. So I do appreciate that you're, saying hi to everybody, but we would also like to try or, avoid, doing more extra work by writing incident reports and stuff like that. Okay, thank you already. So now going back, I will be looking at your whiteboards again. Hopefully next time, those who are not able to try will be more, comfortable in using the whiteboard, but I do understand that, if it's our first time to do it, we're still kind of getting the hang of it. Okay. All right. So now let's try other examples that you might see in your homework or independent work. Well, what if they become more complicated with, like fractions and stuff like that? No worries, honey. I appreciate that you understand, yeah, where I'm coming from, right? So it is already challenging enough that we are in virtual. So I don't want to be, like spending our time with conversations around these. So let's just practice, netiquette, if that's what they call it. Okay. Hi, Jacob. All right. All right. Okay. I'll try to slow down a little bit, Jacob. Thank you for letting me know. Okay. So let's just do our last slide for today. So as I was saying earlier, the first two examples were on addition and subtraction. So guess what? In this slide, we'll do the other operations that we haven't done yet. So in the first one, okay, um, imagine my imaginary two column proof over here where we show all the work. So this will be the statements. And don't worry, we will only be doing this method in chapter 1. I know, sometimes we know how to do the work, but there's just too much writing for the reason and stuff like that. But our learning target is to do exactly that for this chapter. So, okay, the first one is negative n over 5 is equal to negative 3, and this is given. I'm going to pause for a bit so you guys can start setting up your table and write down the problem. Yes, honey, every time I write like this, yes, you will write on the notebook. And everything that you write, please keep them. If you're doing it on a scratch paper, you gotta save them. On Mondays, Mondays are support times, so I will be showing you how you can arrange your digital notebook. I know there's still a lot of confusions in that, and um, we'll do that on Mondays support time. Okay, so since there is a fraction, it means that 5 was divided, right? So we're going to do the opposite operation. The opposite of division is multiplication. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply 5 to the negative n over 5, right? So this is actually negative 1 n over 5, but the reciprocal of 1, just so you don't get confused, I'm going to put like an imaginary one over here. So it's like a negative 1 n over 5. So the reciprocal of 1 over 5 is actually 5 over 1. So that's why we're just multiplying it by 5. Now, whatever we do to the left, we have to do to the right. So we also have to multiply by 5, right? And then since the operation that we use is multiply, then we write multiplication property of equality. Okay. So now let's go to the third one. Yes, honey, mommy's still working. Thank you. Okay, can we go to the living room? I'll look at it later. Sorry about that. There's my 4-year-old kid. Okay, so what will happen to the 5 and the 5 underneath? They will cancel out, right? And then you will end up with a negative n. So we have a negative n is equal to negative 3 times positive 5 is negative 15. Okay? So, but remember, we can't have a negative sign with a variable, right? So what are we going to do? We're going to multiply each side by a negative number. So when we multiply each side by a negative number, that will turn the negatives to positive. So in number 3, we're going to write n, because negative times negative is positive, is equal to negative times negative is positive again, so 15. And the reason for this is we, simplify the two signs, so we put simplify over here. Now, there were some questions that came up yesterday with my period 3. They asked, can you use the same reason for number 3 as in number 2? They were saying, oh, it's like you're multiplying both sides by a negative 1. So can I also put multiplication property of equality? Sure. Yep. The good thing about this is there's no one exact way to do it. The bottom line is you should be able to provide a reason or a brief explanation for the statements that you wrote. Okay, so now we're gonna do, we're ending in 1 minute, so let's just choose one over here that we will do, and then I'm gonna show you what to do. Um, yeah, you're gonna do the Schoology interleave review, which is the properties. Okay, so let's do letter B. Pi x is equal to negative 2 pi. So we want to get rid of the pi, right? Because I have to get the x by itself. So divide the pi without even changing it to 3.14, you know? Okay, so we cross it out because it's the same on top and bottom. We cross it out, and then your answer is x is equal to negative 2. All right, and the reasons for that will be the same as the reasons that, um, same as the operations that we use. So instead of multiplication, we now divided by pi. So you're going to put division property of equality. All right, so I hope that you learned something from those examples. Let me show you what you're going to do next. So you will go to 1.1 interleave review properties, and you will, drag the correct answer from an answer or word bank. And if you need to figure out what properties you're going to use, I showed you where to find the links, right? Where you can find the properties that we read earlier. Okay, so in this case you'll be using distributive and stuff like that, so make sure that you read them first before you do this activity. Okay, so there goes our time. It went by so fast. Thank you for staying with me. Please be ready for homeroom. So take a 15-minute break before you go to your homeroom period. Oh, I do have a homeroom at 11:30. I think you guys have a different time, right? Because you have an hour lunch already. So um, if you have any questions, please text me via Remind because I'm not in front of my computer all the time. So as you've seen, I have a 4-year old. I also have another third grader. So sometimes I'm a busy mom too. Okay. So if you guys have no more questions, yes, honey, I know time went by so fast, right, Joshua? So we started 10:15. Originally, I should only be keeping you live for 40 minutes, but I wanted to accommodate, those, getting used to the platforms and stuff like that. So we took longer today, and we're 1 minute over time. Okay, so all right, guys, you have a little bit of independent time, so make sure you do your school G. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Oh, go back to the math problem real quick. Oh, right here, honey. Oh, you guys are so enthusiastic. I love this group. All right. Alrighty. And you can see your individual work in Schoology. And you do have a Delta Math homework as well, but it's not due until next time we Zoom. So you have until Friday to do it. Okay? So just text me if you have questions. If you need the code for Delta Math, it's in your digital notebook. Bye, guys. Have fun. Take time to stand up.
Thank you. Bye.
You're welcome, honey. Bye bye.